Well, AOL has a new parent again. This time it's Italian tech holding company Bending Spoons. It's added AOL to its portfolio of digital businesses, and joining us right now to talk about it is Luca Ferrari. He's the co-founder and CEO of Bending Spoons. And Luca, welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning.
A pleasure.
All right, talk a little bit about why AOL. This is a company that has moved over the last several decades through several different corporations. First Time Warner, then Verizon, then Oath, and then Apollo. What did you see at AOL that made you think, okay, we want this asset?
Well, maybe I'll quickly explain what we do as a company, because I think it's instrumental to grasping why we think AOL has potential here. What we do at Bending Spoons is acquire digital technology businesses with untapped potential, and then we roll up our sleeves and transform them to unlock that potential. And we do that with a very hands-on approach. We can rewrite the code base, re-architect the cloud infrastructure, redesign the UI, launch lots of features, optimize monetization and marketing, re-architect the organization for improved long-term performance. So you could imagine Bending Spoons as a bit of a mix of a private equity, maybe 25%, and 75% a technology company. We're not a fund. We buy to hold and operate forever. We buy off our balance sheet. And also, unlike a private equity, most of what we do is developing digital products and technologies. Most people here are software engineers, researchers, product designers. So with that in mind, we think AOL holds a lot of promise, and I think a lot of people perhaps see it a little bit as a legacy product. In fact, it still attracts and retains a huge amount of users and customers. It has two products, an email client and a web portal, and about 8 million people use one or both of these products daily, and 30 million people do so monthly. So AOL is today still a top 5 email product in the Western world by usage. It's a pretty big company. We do think that while the product is good, we could make it better. We look forward to improving the technology and user experience. For example, on the web portal, we think there is an opportunity to leverage AI to greatly enhance the quality of recommendations, making the experience of customers, the browsing and consumption experience more exciting, more interesting, and that will hopefully result in greater traffic, more satisfaction, and ultimately more revenue too.
In terms of the email client, what kind of things do you have planned? How will the AOL email look different maybe a year from now?
I think it'll take probably more than a year to radically improve that product. It's actually technically quite complex, but we do want to close the gap between the AOL email client and some of the products that you would consider best in class in the field. We think we should be able to do that, and that will benefit the millions of users who rely on it, and hopefully will result again in a healthier, better business down the line.
Luca, the thing that I was always trying to understand is how much of this is ultimately about growing the business versus simply just maintaining the business by strengthening, for example, the email client. You could hopefully avoid the churn of people churning out. But how much are you intending to try to have people churn in, if you will?
Well, I guess we'll try to do both. The good news is that mostly the things you do to keep customers happy are also the same things you do to attract new customers. Ultimately, you want to have a good product, an intuitive product, a resilient, powerful product. So we'll do that, and we're certain it'll result in better retention, which is actually pretty good already. People will be surprised, but this is a fairly resilient business, and these customers are quite loyal at this point. And also, we hope that will attract new people trying AOL and finding it great, and hopefully sticking around.
Hey, Luca, you all have done a flurry of acquisitions over the last several years. Bending Spoons has been around since 2013, so 12 years now. You've got companies like Evernote, Brightcove, StreamYard, WeTransfer, and you just announced that you're buying the video platform Vimeo for $1.38 billion back in September. What's the plan? It's the same with every one of these? Do you come in, you make layoffs, you strengthen the product with your own team? and then try and boost sales as a result?
I would say on a high level, we deploy the same strategy. This platform of proprietary technologies, expertise, access to talent, company culture, it's all geared toward making us the best operator of digital technology businesses globally. That's the ambition, at least. And we apply those functional competencies, those advantages, regardless of the particular segment within the digital economy. So yes, on a high level, the toolkit is the same. How you use it changes quite substantially. As you can imagine, a surgeon will probably use a similar toolkit, but each operation will be a little bit different. And so we do try to identify the strengths and weaknesses of these businesses and then improve on the strengths and mitigate the weaknesses. Sometimes it's improving the user interface and feature set. Other times that's fine, but the underlying technological infrastructure is shaky and requires overhauling so that the product is higher performance, more resilient. Other times monetization is vastly suboptimal, or the cost base is bloated. Sometimes many of these at the same time.
But your ultimate strategy is to hold on to these companies, make them better businesses, and hold on to the cash flow that they then kick off?
Totally. We've never sold a business. We've now acquired more than 50 businesses, of course, starting very small. A decade ago, the first one we paid $10,000 for it. So a lot of compounding over this decade. But we've never sold one, nor do we intend to. And so, yes, we try to make them the best businesses they can be with a long-term view. And then as they generate cash flow, we use those to strengthen our platform and going after new acquisitions.